Howdy, howdy. Alaric Hutchinson here, also known as the Zen Cowboy. I'm an expert in human behavior and a lover of Zen philosophy, and today I'll be talking a little bit about what I learned going through 6 years of depression and how it laid the foundation to create the happiness that I get to experience today. A little background is that from the age 10 all the way up to 16, I was diagnosed with clinical depression, and it did resurface a few times in my early 20s, but by that point I was already practicing these teachings, and so I was able to work through it much quicker. The primary lesson that I learned is that anytime my depression resurfaced, I noticed that my worldview was collapsing in on itself, becoming more and more limited each day. For example, if my perception is normally this expansive, during times of depression, it became as fine as a needlepoint. Based off of this description, we can call depression compression, or rather, a compression of perception. As humans, we already have such a limited capacity for absorbing information, so when our awareness shrinks even smaller, it becomes extremely difficult for us to imagine or perceive anything outside of our current reality. And this is the happy realization that becomes our safety vest even when we're lost in the sea of depression. Because even though we may not be able to see any land in sight, we know that it still exists. Rather than believing in the half-truths our needlepoint focus is telling us, our invitation is to add spaciousness to our mind. The quickest way to expand our mind is putting ourselves in new environments. So maybe that will take the form of trying new things, talking to new people, just getting out of our usual rut or daily routine. Anything that forces our mind to expand itself to accommodate this new information coming in. The beautiful result of this is that this new movement, this new energy disrupts the old storytelling. It disrupts the limited perception. And here's the interesting thing. How many of us actually do that though when we're feeling in a funk or feeling depressed? More often we may actually withdraw ourselves, hermetizing ourselves. And what's difficult about that is that when we isolate ourselves and block out all new experiences, what occurs is it's just giving our ego more and more opportunity to validate itself and reinforce itself with the same thoughts, same feelings, and same beliefs day after day after day, further entrenching us in that depression. So let's review. 50% of our invitation is simply to show up, while the other 50% is to make sure that we're not in judgment. Interesting thing about judgment is that it's the ego's way of keeping our perception small and limited even when we're in a public setting. So in conclusion, I'd like to read a corresponding teaching from my book, Living Peace, and this is on page 42. Perception alters reality, or rather, perception creates a mental overlay onto the physical landscape of reality. What this means is that everything we experience in life is neutral. Let me repeat that. Everything we experience in life is neutral. It is our mind, or rather our egoic mind, that projects its mental overlay or hue that colors life, and often not for the better. Rather than seeing all things as neutral, we compartmentalize, label, and judge. Eventually, our mental overlay, aka personal perceptions, acts as a bias filter that sifts through each of our experiences, letting in information that our ego agrees to while blocking anything that it does not agree to. This subconscious behavior is especially dangerous regarding things we don't like, as it allows less and less of the full richness of life to reach our awareness. Let's breathe that in. I'm going to go ahead and read one more paragraph I recently wrote that joins together what we've been learning about regarding depression and ties it into the insight of mental overlays from Living Peace. With this understanding, we can see how depression is a mental overlay of compression. Depression's greatest lie is that it tricks us into only seeing the needle point of our life, where we believe the negative half-truths, which don't encompass the totality of reality. Even though my years of depression arose from real harm that I experienced and was a justifiable reaction, What I learned is that it was my ongoing mental overlay or perception that kept me trapped in believing in a dark world, all the while denying the light and beauty that still existed within and around me. On rare occasions, I still wake up feeling the cloud of depression hanging over me, but I recognize that even though I may not feel bright in the moment, the sun will shine again very soon. By not letting this temporary feeling alter my behavior or mindset, the suppressive and compressing cloud naturally dissipates. So there you have it. Some interesting, maybe new awarenesses when it comes to approaching depression. And please make sure that you take it with a grain of salt. There is no such thing as a cookie cutter for anyone. We are all so beautifully unique and diverse. And so I never want to come across as speaking in absolutes. This is just my approach that really helped me in understanding the nature of my depression. And then I have shared this with other clients and students, and it has brought benefit to their lives as well. Well, thank you so much for joining in today and making it this far in the video. I deeply appreciate it, and I do hope that you found some benefit out of today's insights. And as always, there are links down below if you'd like to pick up a copy of my book. And also we have a Patreon page for our church, the religious nonprofit known as the Church of Tunisia. And the whole emphasis of it is making these teachings of peace accessible to more and more people. And you can read more about that in the links below. Wishing you much peace and joy, as always. Blessed be.